and start. I titled the talk today, "The Science and Practice of Nutritional Wellness." I really like the term wellness because it's sort of holistic. It's incorporating everything, and that's really my approach. I take a functional nutrition approach, functional medicine approach, holistic approach. My first foray back into education after I had gotten my bachelor's degree in environmental science, I went back to school to learn nutrition, and my first certification in that was as a holistic nutrition educator. And so I've always had this angle of using food as medicine, and knowing that that really is one of the best way to reverse any type of disease. And obviously there's a place for Western medicine, and there is a place for surgeries when they're necessary. But if we work with the body's innate healing systems, if we give the body what it needs in order to heal, because what I learned was that the body is designed to be healthy. It's not designed to be sick. So if we give the body the necessary nutrients that it needs to be healthy, that's the direction that it's going to go. So it was really sort of that. So that's why I like to use the term wellness. This is one of my favorite quotes by Anne Wigmore. Anne Wigmore was the founder of the Healthy Living Institute. She healed herself using food through just a natural approach. She had I forgot which illness she had, but she opened up a center and started helping other people heal as well. And this is one of her favorite quotes, or famous quotes. "The food you eat can either be the safest, most powerful form of medicine, or it can be the slowest form of poison." And that was one of the things that I realized was happening to me in my, at my young age of 30 or 31, that I was actually slowly poisoning myself every time I drank a big gulp, or every time I ate a burger or fries from a fast food. I never thought of it that way before, but once I started having that shift in perception, I realized that those foods do not support life. Like I said, our bodies are designed to be healthy, but in order to be healthy, they need nutrients. That our body runs off of vitamins and minerals and proteins and fatty acids and carbohydrates. So, but it has to be quality. I'm sure we've all heard the analogy of putting the right type of fuel in the gas tank of the car. But it really is true. It's a perfect analogy for that, because we can't run our organism, our body here, without the right type of fuel. And we see it everywhere around us, and that we see people getting sick. And we also know that people oftentimes tolerate not feeling well just because they think it's normal. And now I work now with clients in nutrition practice, and that's what I see all of the time. I see people who, they still go to work, and they still get up and they still take care of their families every day, but it's like they're running on fumes. They don't have that optimal energy. They're not bouncing out of bed with energy and enthusiasm for the day. And so, once we get people the right nutrients in their body, they start to feel differently. They start to feel better. One of my favorite comments that I get from my clients is they always say, "I didn't know what feeling good was until I felt better. I thought I felt good before." Sometimes people think they feel good, but they don't know that they could feel better. So that's one of my favorite quotes. And that's, I guess, sort of the theme for the beginning part of today. Today we're going to be looking at some of the ingredients in foods that we know are toxic, and I'm just going to touch on some of that. I'm never sure who knows what when I go to do a talk. So if you already know some of these things, that's great, and hopefully you'll learn maybe something a little bit different today. And if you don't know this, I'm so glad you're here. Because I live in it every day, and I think, oh yeah, everybody knows this stuff. I'll just be, preaching to the choir. But I realize that that's not the case. There's always something new to learn. I'm actually a lifelong learner myself. So I feel like I'm always learning something new. So, so as I mentioned, our bodies are designed to be healthy. So when we look at how our food supply has changed over the years, like I said, I looked at the role of food in the human story. What did I find? Well, I found that, you know, people ate relatively simply for most of the time that we've been here on the planet. It really has only been in like the last 300 years or so that we've had a pretty significant change in how we eat as humans. And really in the last 50 years, we've done a lot of changes to our food supply. And what's happening is we're, we're starting to see a huge impact in just the short 50 years of how, you know, how that has affected people. We're starting to see it affects genetics. Um, and it's starting to affect people at younger and younger ages. We have a disease right now that's pretty much like a epidemic. It's, you know, type 2 diabetes, which used to be called adult onset diabetes because it was, you know, no one got that type of diabetes until they were 40 years old or older. And now we're seeing it showing up in children. And so they changed the name from adult onset diabetes to type 2. And so we're seeing that. I like this little cartoon. It's, you know, we're calling this Ma Wilson's home baked steak and kidney pie. And it's really nothing but a bunch of chemicals. And, you know, it's interesting because salt, we could consider salt to be an actual food or a seasoning. But the way that the salt is done these days, it's now actually kind of become like a chemical, because if you were to take seawater, or if you were to mine salt from underneath the Himalayan mountains, you would have this salt that's rich in not just sodium and chloride, but it's going to have a number of other minerals in it in a very specific ratio to each other. And that ratio of minerals to sodium and chloride in the salt, you know, if you take the water and take the seawater and evaporate the water part out, you end up with sea salt. And when we consume that, those minerals are very important because it's almost as if it has the right ratio for our own human body. But the way we do salt these days is we take that seawater, we evaporate the water out, and then they refine the salt. They actually strip out all of the other minerals that were in there and then just have pure sodium chloride. And then because many people don't get enough iodine in their diet, then they add some iodine to the salt. And I don't know if you know this, but in order to add iodine to salt, they have to add sugar, because sugar is what helps the iodine stick to the salt crystals. So you get sugar added to your salt, and then you have iodine added to your salt. And that iodine is in a much higher amount than what it was originally. It's just as sea salt. And so oftentimes when you buy sea salt, you see a little disclaimer. I guess not a disclaimer, but you see little wording on there that says, this is not a significant source of iodine. Well, salt was never really intended to be the only source of iodine for our diet. We're supposed to have soil that we grow our food in that is rich with iodine from not only from the ocean, but also from just the surrounding area. And so, you know, so to think, you know, I have people who say, oh no, I can't eat that sea salt because it doesn't have any iodine in it. And so I have to get the iodized salt instead. And it's like, no, the salt is like a chemical. When it doesn't have all of its other minerals, it leads to an imbalance that happens in our body. So it's actually better to consume sea salt and then get iodine from other foods, like for example, seafoods, or maybe even sea vegetables. So, you know, that's why I say the processed foods don't honor how our bodies are designed. Even the salt doesn't honor how our bodies are designed.